friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you a card that came about by an email from Helga, and she asked if I ever made a card that's called an W card or an M card by the way that it opens and the shape that's made here. She said she saw the card made by Jan B. Jan B, a demonstrator out of, I do believe, Australia, who made a card and called it the, I think it's the W card because it looks like a W here. So I went to watch Jan's and I loved it, and I came up with my rendition with just a slight difference in a couple measurements and a different stamp set. So thank you, Jan B. And I used the A Little Wild. I needed a baby card, and I just love the set with the little elephants and the little lion there and the bear. And so I made this card here, and so I'm going to show you what I used on it here. To get started, we're going to be using the shaded spruce because that's one of the colors in this really pretty paper. Remember the tropical chic? Sometimes we forget about those papers in the annual catalog once our occasions comes out. So it has some really pretty colors with pinks and different shades of green and some really nice black patterns in there too. So I used that. I picked this floral that seemed kind of jungly to me. I'm not sure if the bear is in the jungle, but he's in the stamp set, so he made it to the card. So what we're going to be using is a shaded spruce card base. And what we're doing is just cutting our 8.5 by 11 in half so that it is 11 inches by 4.25. So that makes an A2 size card. A lot of times we open them this way, but we're going to be opening it this way. So shaded spruce, and then we're going to score that 11-inch side at 5.5, and so that we fold it right there in the middle. And then I went ahead, well, as you see, actually I'm doing different colors on this one. On this card, I used the Granny Apple Green, which is one of the colors in the Tropical Chic paper, but I wanted to change it up here and use the darker color just to see what it looked like. So we've got the shaded spruce there, and then you're going to need a mechanism here that makes that W right there when it folds up there, and that's simply the same size in length as your cardstock. So it's 11 inches, and it's 11 inches by, I made it 1.25. So 1.25 by 11 inches long and 1.25 inches wide. So if you're doing this, if you look here, where I scored it was at 5.5. So that gives me the middle, the same scoring as the card, so that you know the card is going to shut, whether it's closed like this way. So if you just look mathematically at your paper, the halfway mark is 5.5. The halfway mark from 0 to 5.5 is 2.75. And then I also went 2.75 over on this side. And of course I should have wrote that measurement down. So let's look here. So that goes to 8.25. So we are going to go 2.75, 5.5, and 8.25, and that goes then to be 11 inches. All of the materials, the colors, the stamp sets, the tools I use, and the measurements are on my blog, CindyLeeBDesigns.com. Just go over in the search bar that's under the photo on my blog, the picture of me, and look in that search bar and put in A Little Wild. And then up pops any card that I've made with A Little Wild, and you'll find this card, and you'll have your basic measurements. Since you're watching the video, you can actually see of how to use it and how to adhere it. So when you go to my blog, you're not going to have written step-by-step instructions, but you're going to have the measurements of how to cut your paper so that you can go back and watch the video and put the card together. So we've got our card base and our mechanism that's going to keep the open and closing portion of this card, okay? So next thing we're going to do is, let's look at the front here. I took this little bear, and on this card, I used Granny Apple Green, Granny Apple Green. So this time I'm going to use the shaded spruce and the to match here. So what I did is I just took a piece of scratch paper of white, and that could be right around 3 inches by 3 inch square, and I stamped a little bear, and then I colored him in. I just pulled out some of my different blends. I see here that my little bear is more of a soft suede here. This one's a little darker. I used the bronze on that one. So just play on the side, have a little piece of scratch paper and play around on the side and see which colors you like before you start actually coloring your good image. So I just colored in my little guy, and before I cut it out, so I put the bear and then I stamped the sentiment. Before I cut it out, I took the Tropical Chic, the stamp set that comes with the, that's in the suite with the paper, and I took this image here and I just stamped a few leaves. So it added to the pattern that was on the paper, and it really made a nice accent, as you can see, with those leaves there. So I got that started, and then I wanted to put designer paper on the front. Now you'll notice on the inside of this card, I also carried over the paper to the inside. So let's just go ahead and do that. So let's take our Tropical Chic. This is a really pretty pattern here too. I like these two greens with the pink. That would have been really cute to put together too. So you're just going to put that on the front of your card, and that is a 4 by 5 1/4. And you're just going to get a nice 1/8 inch border the whole way around your card. And we'll put that on the front, and let's go ahead and put it on the inside as well. So that is your 4 inch by 5 1/4 piece of designer series paper, the Tropical Chic, and we'll just put it on the inside and also on this other side of the inside. Whoop. A little bit here, a little bit here, and then we'll just put a matching one over on this. Oh my, I'm getting all messy here. So there we go. Match up the lines on the paper on each side of the score line. And we've got our inside and our outside. So then what I did is I took the little bear, or whatever image you decide to do. This card could be used for anything that like has a progression, like on the inside. This one was perfect because the image is in the stamp set, but you could put anything on here. So I just put him there, and then I went ahead and put some dimensionals on the upper part, this upper part on the back. So just keep an eye out that your little bear is going to be this way, so put the dimensionals right on the top and right on the bottom. That way you're going to have room to slip your ribbon through. So we'll just take our dimensional backs off, and I liked putting this image here, because then when I took the ribbon that's going to close it, and that was probably about 18 inches, whenever I go to do that and I slide it through, I don't have any dimensionals blocking my way. On the card that I watched that Jan did, she actually put the ribbon under the designer paper and then tied it over on the side, which was really cool, except for I had a little bit of a blank space here, and I liked being able to make the bow fill in that blank spot, and then you have like a really nice like focal point. You have your image here, but you also have something pretty to look on the other side. Okay, so that's essentially how your card's going to look on the outside. And then on the inside, you need to have that mechanism. Now look how easy it is. Let's get these pieces here. Let's look how easy this mechanism fits in there. All you have to do is put adhesive. You're going to it's going to close this way, so you're only going to put adhesive on the backs of these two on the ends. These two sections on the end is where your adhesive's going to go. So we're just going to put some snail there, and we're going to be generous with it because it's going to have to get some. And then I'm going to use my grid paper to measure here. So if I'm measuring my grid paper, that way my new friend Jean and I, who were chatting on the phone this morning, we're talking about how fun this grid paper is because you can really use it to your advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So it's like you don't even have to get out your ruler when you're doing this. And then you're just going to go straight over to the other side. We'll move that ribbon out of the way and make sure your grid paper's lined up. And then just see how it lines right up with those blocks over there. So, whoop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and just line up those blocks. And then on this side, the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that way you know this is totally straight across because you used your grid lines as your ruler there. So look how easy that is, and see how it's just going to close that way? So now the next thing is I changed a little bit of the measurements here. These were my little pieces here that I'm putting. And I did cut these using my Stampin' trimmer because the layering squares are a little bit big. Like they actually come right close to the score line. So I wanted to be able to see a little bit of the paper on each side. So since this was 2 3/4, each one of these scored sections, I cut my paper to 2 1/4 so that I had a nice view of the other color cardstock behind that. And so that was going to be my last one. And I see actually that this paper could have put on here just a little straighter. I did it right before I started the video. So let's just put this on again because that was bugging me. So there we go. I'm going to put that on there a little better than it was. There we go. So that's going to be my last section. And then this section was my second one, a great big welcome for a sweet little one. And then my elephant was going here. So then that left me with this one, okay? So I'm going to put this one together here for you. So as I said, this square here is 2 1/4. So to have a nice little tight border around here, I made the designer series paper 2 1/8. So 2 1/8. And then I just put some snail on the back of that. And then I will, let's move this a little bit up here so you can see what I'm doing. And I just layered it on there so that you can see all those pretty greens there. So I have my square, and then you're going to need a piece of white scratch. So you're going to want it at least to be, you know, maybe 2 1/2. And I just stamped this little lion here. And this lion, these colors, I just found myself playing around, and I did play around first on a piece of scratch paper. I colored it in a dark Daffodil Delight, and then I added a little of some crumb cake, and it was amazing how the colors just blended and they got a different color of something I had never done before. And the same with his little mane. I just mixed a few colors with the Stampin' Blends. I'm gonna have to do a video on that. And I was just amazed at how I created new colors. So that's our cute little lion there. Okay, so he's gonna go on the first part, and then we're just going to adhere each one of these to that strip that's the mechanism. So put your adhesive right in the middle of the card, and then put a little bit of a border on each side, and then about the same amount. You don't really want to put any dimensionals behind here because this card is going to be a pretty padded card to begin with mailing and fitting in your envelope and everything. And that's why I like to put this bow onto the front of the card, because when you put the bow at the end of the card, you actually need a little more space for that bow to fit into your envelope. So if you pull it over and do the bow on the front of the card, it just makes it a little more puffy in the front, but it'll still fit into the envelope. Okay, there's that one. And then a little more adhesive here for our last one. And like I said, look through your stamp sets and see which one of your stamp sets has like a progression of things. Like this one, not only did I need the baby card, but this really worked well because I saw it had 1, 2, 3 images and then 2 sentiments that I could put there. But just think of all the different stamp sets you have that would lend themselves well to doing, or you could just do the same thing. You could, Jan did butterflies on hers, and they were just plain butterflies and a beautiful, beautiful card. So then we're just going to pull over, and our ribbon is free flowing because I didn't adhere it because I just figured, you know, they can pull it out. And we're just going to tie a quick little bow here. I was watching tutorials on bow tying this weekend, and I'm not sure that I was successful in making a great bow, but I'm going to use some of my ribbon cutting scissors instead of using my paper snips, which their name is paper. Whoop! Flying, because they do cut paper. They're not super good with ribbon. So we've got that. I finished my card. I was so happy with how it turned out. And then I realized there wasn't any place to put the message. And so, you know what? I think I need to even out this bow. There we go. So I decided, oh, I need to put something on the back. So what I did is I picked out a piece of designer paper that is sticking there to my desk. I picked out a designer paper, was the same coloring of the card, and then I just put and made it 5 1/4 by 4, and then I went down a little bit more than I normally would, and the white is 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. So this is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So it lets you see more of the designer series paper. I could have made this, 1/8 inch, but you wouldn't have appreciated how pretty that designer paper is. So what I did is I just put that onto the back of the card. I didn't use dimensionals. I didn't want to make it any more bulky. So just put your adhesive on the upper and the bottom part. Don't put it in the middle because then your ribbon can't move. And so you can just put this on the back of your card and you have a place to do the writing of your message, and it all ties in well together. You've got the beautiful designer paper here with the shaded spruce and the granny apple green, and on the back you see the same thing. And when you open up the card, your images on the inside, on this one I used another piece of the paper that was in that tropical chic designer paper, and it has the granny apple and the shaded spruce. And so on this card I carried this pattern to the outside here. So you have like a really cute card. It's so simple to make. It's just an A2 size card that was 4 1/4 by 11, and you scored it at 5 1/2. Then you took a strip of leftover coordinating paper, and it was 1 1/4 by 11, and you scored it at 5 1/2 and at 2 3/4. And then over here at 8 1/4, then it ends up closing so easily whenever you're making the card. So if you have any questions, you can go to my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com. Hopefully I've put all the measurements up by the time I post my video. Thank you if I've ever forgot or I omitted something by accident. I'm so thankful that you text me or you email me and say, hey Cindy, the video's not showing, or you missed something, and then I can rectify that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you viewers. If you like this video, give me some thumbs up. I guess that's what you do on YouTube. And I would love to hear from you. I love getting snapshots of cards you've made after you've watched my videos. You cannot imagine how much I appreciate all of you. So if you have any questions, you can call me at 724-323-2296. You can text me at that number as well, or you can leave me an email at cindyleeb@gmail.com. If you're in the Orlando area or the Pittsburgh area and you could come to one of my local classes, that would be awesome too. Just check on my blog under my calendar of events, and maybe someday we can craft in person. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.